What's up everybody and welcome to another ShawnSetGO video. Today we're going to be talking about Mythic Plus and some bans that were handed out to some bad actors. However, before we jump into it, I'm going to just do a brief community update. I promise it'll be short, but for those of you who have been watching the stream, we are still alive on our hardcore character, but this happened. Oh shit. Fuck. No! I'm dead. Nearly died, but we made it. We got a little bit further. I think right now we're 16, I think level 16. Let's jump into the video. Talking about really Mythic Plus. There was some bans that were handed out, and it says Blizzard bans Mythic Plus leavers, intentional griefers suspended. The blue post says, today we issued a gameplay suspension to players who intentionally leave Mythic Plus groups a great many times in the War Within Season 1. The sort of behavior we actioned was either without regard for experiences of fellow players, or in some cases even deliberately intending to harm others' experiences. This is detrimental to the community of players who strive to do their part in a group content that the vast majority of the time. We understand that occasionally abandoning runs will happen. Players can experience unexpected real-life emergencies, internal outages, or the group collectively deciding to quit the run. Today, we suspended players who repeatedly and recklessly disrupted Mythic Plus groups. We will continue to keep an eye on the groups in the future, and repeated offenders are subject to escalating penalties. So, I mean, at first glance, I mean, I would say this is a positive, a net positive overall. I think that looking at it at face value is always, I mean, it's good. It's good because I mean, it's a net positive. So I want to say this is a net positive, you know, in general, but I will say there is a bit of skepticism that I have personally, that when it comes to stuff like this, it's like, well, it's in a social contract anyways, you know, intentionally griefing is kind of plastered as like this universal thing of we don't allow it anyways. So in reality, this was something that's, I would say, exists already in the terms of service, but isn't necessarily enforced all the time. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that, is it just a lip service or is this actually a positive thing? But let's look at some of the comments. So it says, is this the first time they said they banned players for leaving Mythic Plus? Can't remember them ever speaking about this beforehand. So if I'm not mistaken, it's written into the social contract everyone has to sign already. So it's already baked in. But I saw this comment here. It says, unfortunately, some losers are livid and hurling insults and threats through my DMs because they have the audacity to have the top comment and they disagree with the assessment. Get a life. It says, I am undergoing no obligation to respond and spending time on you jerks. You're not worth my time. Reddit is just toxic about this. Absolutely toxic about this, especially if you disagree with anybody. Like anybody who says like, hey guys, I kind of don't think this is as good as you think it is. Let me go to the post. It says no. This is because it was solely due to the metric that a ton of Mythic Plus streamers would be banned right now because they left keys in pugs, but they leave keys in their own Mythic Plus group because of course they do. Why on earth would the Mythic Plus team stick around for a filled plus 14? Mass reports for something, the other thing, because it's funny to grief. We know that both these happen, so both these combined would have a result in immediate automated bans on several Mythic Plus streamers. We'd be seeing a ton of tweets and quotes by now. No, the key metric here is how many keys did you leave in a day? If you leave a key 100 times in a day, which is impossible unless you pug and brick the keys, you'll be banned. This is extremely troll ban. This isn't for rage quitters or you probably or for your regular pug that you leave on your first pull because X didn't go their way. Now, a lot of it, like this is something that a lot of people jump to. They go, oh, it's the streamer's fault. You gotta blame the streamers. And then, like, this is them doing this, nobody else. Now, the other part with the griefers, you know, I've heard about people griefing keys, and I've been in keys where people will leave pretty quickly, but it's usually because something that doesn't go their way, that third point that they mentioned. Now, there was something interesting in their point that I thought should be brought up. It's like, is it a metric of how many keys that you leave in the day? Say you leave 2 keys in a day. Like they just don't go your way, or you leave before everybody else does and you get that deserter, or you get kicked, etc. What are we going to count in that? What metric are we counting in that? And then how many? I think it's kind of unfortunate that we're not necessarily privy to how many keys is like the barrier to this, but also it's not exactly clear that what exactly is causing this. Of course, they're saying that like it's not intended by our game. It's not what we want in our community. But at the same time, it's giving that bit of silver lining that yeah, sometimes you leave a key or you lose connection and these things happen. So it's like, is it enough of a metric to go just based off of a numerical value? And if it does, unfortunately, I think Blizzard doesn't really have a great leg to stand on this. I think automated bans and the automated system, as much as they can claim that it doesn't exist, is very much existing in the game. But when people do mass report in these situations, or people grief in these situations and they get mass reported, that whether it be true or not, and it seems like there's no human intervention. It seems like these things happen automatically. So it's just like, it's unfortunate that we don't have all this information, and it doesn't really seem like you could say like, oh yeah, we banned some people today. And it's like, but who? Like who and how many and where? Like, can we put their name on a list, like, or something? Like, you know, like I feel like if it's enough to ban a player, then it should be enough to go, this person should be listed as a leaver, a frequent leaver, if they're getting close to that mark, you know, like, or if someone does it enough times in a day, like say like 5 times in a day, that seems excessive to me. Then I would maybe count that. Like, I don't know. And then at the same time, sometimes it's justified. Like I honestly understand keys. Like if you get like 3-4 deaths in a row before the first boss, yeah, I would consider leaving too. If I wasn't the tank, I'd be like, yeah, for sure. So like, honestly, these situations are kind of, it's too hard to tell based off of just a general overview all the time. Because like I would say if you leave 1 key a day, I don't think that's a lot. I think that it's definitely possible, if you're running mythics frequently, to have a bad key in a day that you're just like, nope, this isn't it. And it's another situation. The other situation that I think of about this is that it's WoW dictating human interaction and forcing interactions to happen a certain way, trying to their best to limit how humans just act in video games. And so I think that I personally have more of a laissez-faire type of approach to some of these games. Let people do as they will, for better or for worse, and only weed out the actors, not necessarily who are doing things that you don't like in the game, but doing things that are harmful to other players. To me, leaving a mythic key and maybe stopping someone's progress in a mythic key isn't harming the game. Some people just are bad at the game and you don't realize it till you start running the key. It's just the way it is. Sometimes there's things that you can do beforehand to kind of determine that, but it's not always the case on that. So it's like, I don't think it's necessarily fair to kind of universally say that. But let's read some more of the comments. It says, good intentional abandonment when the key just started or after a single death deserves this. So yeah, I can partially agree with that, but not wholeheartely. Had several tanks troll, and by starting the key and just alt F4ing on the first pull, never came back. I've heard the most is that people apparently, when it comes to like loot, etc., they'll kick somebody on the last boss. But I also find that a lot of these situations are very, very, very like it's a case by case basis. I read a story on Reddit, or a post on Reddit, and it was, I wish I could find it again, but it was a guy saying that I keep on getting kicked as a tank in time walking dungeons. Why do I keep on getting kicked in these dungeons? It doesn't make any sense. But if you read more in his further posts, he also was saying he was pulling everything in the dungeons. And one of the first comments called him out on it and said, yeah, of course they are. They just want to complete the dungeon and you're pulling everything, and that's not necessary. They're going to get more XP by amount of dungeons cleared versus you pulling the whole thing. And it's like, okay, there it is. Like, there it is. They're kicking you because I mean, it's kind of like if you're a tank and you're a high level tank in these situations and you're just doing way too much and you're wasting a lot of people's time. I think that's a logical reason to kick somebody. I think that if enough people are dissatisfied with what you're doing as a tank, then yeah, okay, like it's logical. So I feel like it's a lot of these situations too. It's like why does that person leave? Oh, because they're griefing. Well, maybe you guys are underperforming or your DPS is trash and they don't want to waste their time. So a lot of these times it's like I hate to side with the people who are like kind of toxic at times, but I don't think it's like a numerical value you can totally judge based off of. And I don't think Blizzard has the customer support to really judge these on a case by case basis fairly. It just seems like kind of like it's going to be judged unfairly in these situations. And I want to bring up an example. I don't want to provide you 0 examples of this happening. So I did find something that works or something that kind of like applies to this. It says this: 10-day ban for a +12 fast push to 14. How are account bans given for LFG titles like this? It says your fellow players reported your LFG poster multiple times violating the code of conduct, and if we modified the +12 fast push to the 14, please, or we've modified +12 fast push to the 14, please, as a result. As the owner of the account, you're responsible for all actions associated with it. You will only overturn penalties if there's evidence that compromise the account or similar extenuating circumstances. So, looking at this, you're like, why is this a problem? But if you go down just a little bit, let's see if I can find the one. I tried to like get the single one that I had. But let's look at one of this post here. So it says, I've been playing with my friends until one of my friends and a girlfriend of a friend started playing. We were talking about completely new players. We were just party leveling while leveling professions. She was picking herbs. Out of nowhere, she got banned because she was reported as botting. So kind of saying that these situations are automated. And I do agree with those situations that like, I do think a number of them are botting or a number of them are like just mass reporting either due to competition or some other reason. I can never find the pose that I'm looking for when I'm actually looking for it. I try to dissect these fairly, but basically my big issue with these in general is that whenever you have posts like this that are trying to basically tell people like, oh, this is how it happened, I promise, like there's no extra circumstances. When you're trying to say that this is exactly what happened, it's not entirely truthful. Because if you look at it and you look at this post, it says +12 fast push to 14. The reason why someone's likely trying to report you is because they're looking at that 14. If you think about yourself as a Mythic Plus player doing keys that are above 10 plus, you're probably not typing the specific key you need or even filtering out. You're probably just typing in 14 because you want to look for keys that are at your level. But unfortunately, with keys like that, if someone, or if when you're typing it in like that and you see this person who's running a 12 who's also trying to get people who are running 14s because they probably have better gear, I could see someone getting pissed about that because it's kind of like a false advertisement. And so if you're wasting people's time, it's like, And so this is kind of the example I wanted to bring up, not necessarily as like the exact example of this Blizzard bans here, but as an example to say that like not every situation in a Mythic Plus is a black and white. You can have a billion people on Reddit saying, oh, they were griefing, they left immediately, but it doesn't say the whole situation of it all. So if this is an actual set of bans that are going to happen and say like 3 leaves, you get a ban or temporary suspension on your account, I don't think that's going to be necessarily fair, or there's going to be a lot of people upset being like, I felt like I had a reason to leave because the group I was in was doing poor. And a poor performance is a waste of my time. I choose how I want to spend my time. And if you're wasting my time, I don't want to spend time in this. Now, additionally, if this is a case of them just kind of giving lip service to people complaining or sending in feedback, mass feedback so there's mass reporting, mass feedback in these situations, then I don't appreciate it. Like, I don't appreciate the lip service of it all. And I feel like it's too vague to be like, oh yeah, they're definitely doing something. Finally, they're doing something. And, you know, it's not, I don't think we have enough information in this situation to be like, oh yeah, this is definitely what's happening here. And I feel like it's a net positive. So I don't mean to be negative about it all, but I feel like in these situations, a universal Mythic Plus leavers ban rule while it's adhering to their TOS, I don't feel like it's entirely fair. And I don't feel like there's a good way without a stronger support team to be like, oh yeah, like this can be implemented in a great way. So where do you stand on this? Do you think it's going to be a net positive overall? Do you think I'm underselling the amount of griefers and leavers that there are? Personally, I don't think there's a lot, but I know it does happen to other people. I know I can have a very isolated experience of what I know, and it's not everybody else's. So let me know in the comments. Of course, if you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe to the page. We are nearing 1,000 subscribers and I'm super excited. So thank you for all the support you guys have been giving. But until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.